Okay. Hi everyone. There's a lot of people coming in now. People are just signing on. We will get started shortly. In the meantime, welcome to JARS Financial Planning. We're doing a talk today on how to save for a home in 2 years. We'll get started shortly. Just more people coming in now. Just give us half a second here. Okay. Look, seems like it should be time to get started. Few more people coming in, but it should be fine. So for those who missed before, welcome to JARS Financial Planning. We're doing a talk today on how to buy a home, how to save a deposit for a home in 2 years. And we're going to cover a number of different things, talking about talking about the mentality behind this feat. It's something that a lot of people talk about doing. A lot of people have to do it. We're definitely going to cover what a budget is. We'll talk about what it means to budget, what it looks like. We'll talk about, as another point, we'll talk about what you want, how many bedrooms it has, how to know how to pick it. Is it too big? Is it too small? We'll look at in the process what works for you. How do you know if your budget or a plan you have is working? Sounds simple, but it's really important at that point. And then we'll move on. We'll get into sort of the more, the meat of it, how to actually do it. We'll go through the process of picking the house. We'll talk about matching your house to your dreams and your dollars. Of course, things have to be realistic, and we'll take a step-by-step approach through that. We'll go into detail in how to set a budget up and what it actually would look like. We have some resources for that will be made available to you. Then have a look at the accounts as well. You know how you structure your setup. Different accounts, savings accounts, and then that sort of thing. But look, that just brings us roughly through what we're going to talk about today. But what's really interesting is how this presentation came about. As some of you may know, we've been helping a lot of people out buying a home, especially a first home. Of course, some of you here will be looking at buying a first home, some will be looking at a second or maybe an investment property. What we discovered, however, is that this process, there is a great need. And I'm happy to say we've been able to help a lot of people out, help them set up the relevant facilities, where that's a savings account or offset account, different kinds of everyday access accounts, and get them heading in the right direction. You should realize that some people, when they come to us, they already have a deposit saved. Maybe not all the way, but they were close. However, there is a large group. We were really finding that a lot of people were coming to us and saying, I don't have a deposit. In fact, I'm not really 100% sure how to save for a deposit. They were saying, have a look at my finances. Is it really possible for me to get into a house with this income and with these bills, with these expenses? And the great news is that in a lot of cases, the answer is yes. Yes, you can get into your home, and really, isn't that what people want to hear? We want to hear that yes, we can do it, and also this is how you can do it. So really, how this presentation came about was by that people coming to us. And today we're going to give you some direction, maybe some ideas about how it's done, and we're happy to provide that to you here at no cost. And really, for myself, I'm all about helping people in this area. I find in the market today that there are some services out there, and often they're about helping people These are services, in the budgeting area, and they're talking about helping people who are in debt get out of debt, sort of going from a negative net position to a positive, and that's a good thing to do that. And then on the other side of the coin, there are lots of financial help for those who have a lot of money. For some people, you just can't stop people from climbing all over and trying to get you to spend your money. But there is another group in the middle where you're not doing badly by any means. You've never tried budgeting before, or maybe you've tried some things, but you feel like you haven't been able to really break out and get ahead and start seeing that money piling up. That's really who we want to talk to today, where we can actually help people go from, yeah, I'm doing okay, to I'm really managing my money well. I'm in control. I know what I'm doing, and yeah, I'm confident that I'm saving towards my house, saving towards the goal I have. And that's what it's about, really, isn't it? Being in that position. But look, just quickly before we do get started, if you're listening today and actually you are in that position, or we're talking about, of being more in debt, and you feel like that feels out of control to you, do listen to what we say. The principles we talk about today will help you. But I encourage you, get in touch at the end, and we'll see to it that some more specialized assistance comes your way, if that's something you need. Now, let's talk about budgets. The thing is, for me, I'm one of those people who actually like budgets. I know for some people, just hearing me say that will make you feel sick, but there are some of us out there. The reason I tell you this is to reinforce that this is not just something I'm saying. It's something I believe. And do you know what people say to me? They say, how can you like budgets? They really put emphasis on like, as in budgets and like cannot go together. And I mean cannot go together. So let's be clear. No one here is asking you to like a budget, but I want to tell you why I like them. And that's because there is a freedom in having a budget. And I'll leave it there. But I want to discuss this in later in the section, and we'll come back to that later. What I really need to talk about is why people need a budget in the first place. So this is a quote I want to read out from a book called The Intelligent Investor. Talking about the advisors you have, it says, if you always struggle to make ends meet, have no idea where your money goes, find it impossible to save on a regular schedule, or chronically fail to pay your bills on time, then your finances are out of control. An advisor can help you get a grip on your money by designing a comprehensive financial plan that will outline how and how much you should spend, borrow, save, and invest. This is a simple view, but in life you will receive different views from different people all the time. Part of getting the best result for yourself is looking at these views and seeing which one is best for you. So let's look together at some of the things that might need us to look a bit more closely at putting a plan together for our finances. The first point mentioned above is have no idea where their money goes. This is really interesting one, and most important in many ways, or at least a first step. Knowing where your money is going. It's a common thing that loads of people say, I just don't know where my money's gone. And I think we can agree that this is not a big surprise, that this is a determiner for needing a budget. The real problem is how to fix the problem. But that's something we can definitely help, and we'll cover just a bit later. Find it, and the next step there, finding it impossible to save on a regular basis. Thinking about those words on a regular schedule or on a regular basis, is that needed to be regular? Is it okay to just save when you have some spare? I mean, seriously, I'm putting the question out there for you to have to think about it. Do you need a regular amount to save each week? I tell you what, this one is up in the air. I'm sure there are more than two ways about it. One thing that is clear though, you need to have a clear picture of what you are saving. So to be able to see progress as the dollars pile up in your bank account, and it does have to be often that you're putting money in there. So maybe not every week the same amount, but surely you're going to want to see the progress as you go along, right? Okay, the next step. Chronically fail to pay bills on time. Well, this is an extreme one, especially because they use the word chronically, but you would be surprised how many people we talk to who fail in this category. Doesn't pay the bill on time, ends up paying late fees, eventually pays the bill. That's the pattern that we see. This is a real easy one to fix, and you can save quite a bit of money too, depending on how many bills are being paid late. Then lastly, if you're struggling to make ends meet. Now, do you feel like you could be managing your money just a bit better? Struggling to make ends meet actually means you're running out of money, but maybe spending more than you have would still fall under this one, where you're sort of living paycheck to paycheck. But also, do you just feel like the cost of life is not allowing you to save what you need to save, or what you're wanting to save? So look, I mean, that covers a few different things there, and the answer to all those things I mentioned above is a budget. The problem is that word can leave a bad taste in some people's mouths. In fact, it can be a source of guilt for many people. So let's break down some of the myths surrounding what a budget is, and cut straight to the point. Many people would refer to a budget as a limit on your spending. You will hear things like, "Oh, I can't go out tonight. I'm on a budget. I've got to really budget this month to make rent." It's all negative. It's all about limiting or holding back. For saving, it can be the same thing. No fun, can't spend, just limited and held back. However, a budget, by definition, is either a register of what you spend, and that means how much you have spent in the past, or it is the amount you are allowed to spend. It's a way to spend without having any guilt. For a lot of the time, we hear people saying, on a budget, being on a budget, that is, it can just feel difficult. For some people, even thinking about it can make you feel tired, and even coming here and listening today could have been a big step. But by the end of this talk, I assure you, we will show you something that's easy to do, and that's a tool for freedom. Something that's going to allow you to save, importantly, and feel in control. Feel good about what you're actually doing, and knowing that you're heading towards your target. And that brings me to my next point, is talking about what that target is and how it affects you as well. The other day I was actually out, I was going for a run, because you've got to be healthy, right? I mean, that's the right thing to do. You get out there, you go for a run, feeling good, feeling healthy. So there I was out there in the park near my place, going for a run, and this person comes flying past me. I mean, I thought I was running until I saw what he was doing, and then I just don't know anymore. I don't know what I was doing. Maybe it was running, or maybe it was jogging, or maybe just fast walking. I don't know. But you know what? I lost all the energy in my legs. I lost all my motivation. I didn't see what the point of running was anymore. And you know, I sort of just took a shortcut and headed home. And sure, I patted myself on the back. You know, got out there. I did it. But something happened there when I saw the other person running so much better than me, and that struck me as really important. You know, some people, your friends, people you know, they'll probably save a deposit faster than you. They might start after you and finish before you. You might have friends with 2 or 3 houses, and it's easy to, just like me when I was running, when I see someone else pass me, and think, what's the point? So, if we're looking at a plan that's going to be over the long term, you're going to need something that can set you up and get you through to the end. So when we're talking about having a house or maybe other financial goals as well, having something in place that you can depend on, that you can see what's happening, is going to be really important. So let's look at some of the specifics here. We're talking about a home or a house. Could be an investment or otherwise, or, you know, a first home. But we're looking at a minimum you would require. You might have a dream home, but right now I'm talking about getting a house. Straight out property, 4 walls and a roof. The minimum you'd want to buy a house for, or the minimum you could buy a house for, is around $350,000. You can pay a bit less, and you can certainly pay a lot more. But in the outer suburbs, we're not talking like a unit, but an actual house in the outer suburbs. It's a reasonable figure to work off. I know that there are a lot of promotions out there, sort of offering this house and that house. But I guess what we want to look at is you know, how much do you need to actually get started? And those promotions I was talking about, I mean, you'll often see them say, you know, $3,000 and get into your first home, or $5,000 or whatever it is at the time. And I don't know if you've had a look at them before, but if some of you have been in that situation, then you'll know that when you actually go to sign up, you're going to need a lot more money than that. So really not much less than 10% of the property value of the whole house, the land and the house value, is what you're going to need to get into your home. In some cases this could be less, but I'm going to work off 10% here as a minimum of what you'd require or what you'd want to buy a first home. So 10%, look, 350,000, 10% is 35,000. Okay, that's good. That's a target, $35,000. For some, this might seem like a small number or a big number, and for some, it's an impossible number. But what does this number actually mean? We want to save this deposit in 2 years. Well, that's the title of this talk today. Save a home deposit in 2 years. So 35,000 is $1,458 per month over a 2-year period. So $1,458 a month. Does that mean anything to you? This probably is similar to most people's rents. Maybe a bit less, or maybe a bit more, just depending on what you've got at the moment. But maybe you do things weekly. We can certainly look at it weekly. 35,000 over 104 weeks in 2 years. That's $336 a week. What else costs that much? Well, yeah, rent is about that. I know my brother's car is being paid off at $200 a week. It's a bit of money still, but it's not impossible. So let's be more realistic though. In 2 years' time, housing prices will not be where they're at now. So actually, the money we'll need to put away will be a little bit more than that. So I've come up with a figure of $364 a week, which is a bit more, not too much more, but that will cover a reasonable deposit in 2 years' time for a bottom end sort of house going into like I was saying, a proper house. Or we're talking 3 bedrooms or 4 bedrooms in an outer suburb of Melbourne. But I guess when we're looking at these figures, I mean, $364 a week. It's similar to rent. It's very similar. I know a lot of people would pay a similar rent to that, and it's very similar to how much mortgage repayments you're actually going to end up making when you have the house. So it's definitely not too big a figure. But I guess you wouldn't have the rent there as well. But it's not that scary. I mean, getting into a house can seem pretty difficult, and especially if you've been trying for a while and you can see others around you getting into your house, then it can seem discouraging, and I guess it feels like you're not making any progress sometimes. But look, maybe you're just starting. You've not got much deposit, but you've decided, yep, you're going to do it. Or maybe you've got something saved already, maybe $10,000 is already saved, and you know you need to get it done to save $30,000 or $40,000. Then it's really important to know what you'll need to do. And in this case, that's to put away $350 or $400 a week in an account that's separate, and hopefully getting you some interest as well. And that's it. You're doing it. You're done. The numbers are there, and in 2 years, at this rate, you'll be in a house. And it's really good to have that confidence to know what you want and know what you have to do each week, and that'll actually get you through the longer term of it. So now we have a figure to work towards. We need a way to do it, and I'll be talking about the practical side of it soon. But there is another important part we might be missing. I do a lot of reading. I'm always reading this advice or that blog or column, and I'll give it a go. I'll see what's out there and I'll give it a try. But I used to get a bit stuck, and I was stuck having this thought: is this the right way for me? Is this budget right? And I wasn't. It wasn't because I was doing something wrong. It was out of good motivation. I was trying to do the best I could do for myself and my future, but I was merely missing a really important thing, and was it helping me? Was it actually something that was good for me? And when I say helping me, let's put that in perspective. If I want to save money, am I saving more money than I was before? I'm going to be showing you some simple ideas on a budget soon. And what is the key to being able to do it? Simplicity. Keeping it simple. I think you see a lot of people talking about owning a first home, and you see it on TV. You see the ads. People are talking about own your first home, own your first home. But if we know that it's $350 or $400 a week to get there, and we put a budget together to do that, how do we know if it's working? What's the actual steps to make it happen? And that's what I'm going to show you just in a moment. How to actually do it, which is the important part. But carrying on from what I was talking about a bit earlier, when I was going for that run and I saw the other guy who was running faster than me, I started feeling tired, disheartened. A budget, it can be the same way. It has to be easy. So it has to be something that will keep you going over the long run. It has to be something that makes you feel good, something that makes you feel happy to do it, and it's easy. If your budget is a mega 25-step process you do every week and it takes you a few hours, there's a good chance you'll stop doing it pretty soon. Well, maybe you already have one like that, I don't know, or maybe you've sort of got a bit of something set up. But if you're used to that, that's fine. But in any case, if you're starting out, or you're looking to tweak your budget, you don't have to have a budget that's all everything and has some mega process there. You've just got to have a basic step, basic form that's easy to keep track of. So it has to be simple for you to use and keep using. That's the important part. If you know what your goal is, and your goal is easy to achieve, and you want to get there, then you're going to get there. It's really that simple. You're starting yourself on a process, and you know the end of the process is owning a home. It's fairly certain, it's fairly definite where the process is leading. And this is what we're talking about today, saving up for that deposit in 2 years. We want to start ourselves off on that process. So this is how you know if your budget is working for you. It's easy. It makes you feel free, and it gives you the feeling that you're moving towards the goal we're speaking of. Now, these things might be a little bit different to what you usually hear about when talking about a budget, but they are by far the most important part. All the part I'm going to talk about below, it's just how you actually do it. But there's no point having a great budget if you never use it. So we've talked about 4 points above, showing that you would notice, showing the things you would notice if you need a budget. The first one was about knowing where your money is going, and as we discussed, a simple budget that's easy to use can show you that. Not limit you to what you can spend, but to tell you how much you are spending. So you know where your money is going. We've discussed just above about saving a regular amount. We haven't talked about how to set that up, but I'll go through that in just a second. But we have talked about how much that amount should be, and shown you how important it is to save a regular amount and on a regular basis as well. We haven't talked about how to decide how much that is for you, but yeah, I'll cover that in a sec. But there are 2 other points we haven't got to from the 4 original ones. One is failing to pay bills on time, and the other is failing to make ends meet. So I haven't really covered them yet. But I'll show you once you actually hear what I have to show you below, you're never going to miss a bill payment again. And if you do feel like you're living paycheck to paycheck, we can stop that too. So let's get into it, and let's see how we actually decide what's the right size goal for you. We often get people coming here to us, and they're all excited, and they say, I found it. It's perfect. It's the perfect house. Can you help me get in? And it's tough, because they're obviously excited about it. But we have to say that's not what we do. We don't get that house. It's actually you who've got to do it. And this one in particular, I'm thinking of this guy who we were helping out. He didn't have enough saved. To be fair, he really didn't have hardly anything saved at all. So he wasn't in the position to do what he was trying to do. So the question is, how do you know what you can do? Are you working part-time? Are you single salary, or are you a couple working double income? If you go online, you can type in mortgage calculator into Google, and you'll be able to get an idea of how much you'll have to pay for a mortgage on a monthly basis. And they have how much I can borrow calculators as well. And so you can set it to like monthly or weekly or whatever you like, whatever's the one that makes sense to you. But remember, you are going to need at least a 10% of the total value of the house and land to be able to afford it. So that is a limit to what you can get in many ways. So it's a good place to start too. So it starts to actually give you an idea of how big a place you can go for, and then you can see once you see the total, then you can see if the monthly amount matches in terms of mortgage repayments. So we're talking about saving a house in 2 years here. If you extend to 3 years, then you are going to be able to aim for a bigger plan. And that's really up to you. So keep in mind that over 3 years the prices will rise, or they will be continuing to rise. So 2 years, it is a good amount of time to get in from a zero savings to, I guess you say, a get in as fast as possible scenario. You want to get into the market. So you can save for the first 2 years and then go, what's left. So you've saved 2 years and you get this much. You know what? I might go for the next year. I might save for another year. And a lot of people do decide to do that as well. But right here, we'll just talk about the 2 years as a plan. And another thing is too, it also depends if you're wanting an investment property or you want somewhere to live. It depends how many bedrooms you want. It depends how long you're going to live there for. These are all things you've got to take into consideration when you're sort of looking at it. But if you're willing to go further out from the city, you are going to be able to get a bigger place, an actual house. But there are plenty of units close to the city that are good too. So it just depends sort of what you want there. But the most important part is that it doesn't have to be the one. It doesn't have to be perfect. This is the beginning of a lifetime of owning property, and maybe this will be your first. Maybe you'll live in it for the next 20 years, or it's just an investment property, or I guess it's different for different people. But when you're saving, when you've saved enough, you can go to the next one. You can take the next step. So decide what that minimum needs to be. Something that gets you into the property market, and that you can save to in a reasonable amount of time, so that you can see yourself achieving the goal. So above we talked about our weekly saving or monthly saving. You can start from that and work up. And just in a minute we'll go through how to set that up. But if we work out that you can save $400 a week, which is awesome, then you can get $400,000 house. That's the 10%. Okay, so 10% for the deposit, 400 times 52 is 40,000 roughly. It gets you a $400,000 house. And then we're aiming for 400,000 as the total price. Then you can go into your mortgage calculator, you put in 400,000, and you can see how much that is for a monthly or a weekly repayment for the actual mortgage itself. And then you can put that in your budget, and you can test and you can see if you can afford it or not. If you do that, and yes, you can afford it, then look at the houses around that level. Then you can answer if the houses at that price range are appealing to you. If you're saving, say, $300 a week, and then that's going to be, say, $300,000 house, which is really simple. Look at the houses around that price, and there are not many, but there are some townhouses out further, and some apartments too. So let's say you start and you get an idea pretty quickly that really 450 is the price you're going to need. That's what you need in a house, is around 450,000. So then to achieve this, what you're going to have to do. But let's say after going through the budget, you realize you can only save $380 a week. You're left with a choice. Save more, that means spend less in your daily life. Look at a smaller house, or one that's further out, or of course you could save for a bit longer too. And just to show you how to do that, it's pretty simple. If you're saving, say, $380 a week, so we've got 52 weeks in a year, 3 times 52, so 156 weeks that's 3 years. So 380 times 156 is 59k. So you could really look at a much bigger house if you did save for longer. Or you're looking at a much bigger deposit anyway, I should say that. So we're starting to build a really clear picture of how this is possible, and I hope you're starting to get excited, because as I've been showing you, it's really not that hard to figure out. The only part I haven't covered is how to work out how much you can save each week in an easy way that you can manage. So let's do that now. It's funny, we're talking about saving for a house a lot, and we haven't talked about doing a budget that much. And that's a really positive thing. The budget itself, it's not that important. It might sound a shocking thing to hear, but it's the truth. I'll share with you one more example with you. And really, I wanted to share this. A close friend of mine, he was saving some money. He sort of had a little savings plan in place, and he was doing all right. And he was telling me, actually, when we were chatting one time, he said he's been spending ages setting up this new budget. And I said, great, because I love budgets. I mean, I didn't want to put the guy off or anything, but he didn't. He's not the guy. He didn't seem like the kind of guy who's really does budgets that much. So anyway, it was a few weeks later. I saw him, and I was just asking him how things are going, and how's the budget going? I mentioned to him, and he told me. He said, really not good. I can't do it. So I was thinking, whoa, it's only been a few weeks, but I kept that to myself. I said, what's gone wrong? He said, it's just too hard, I can't do it. And I could really see that he'd become very negative about the idea of doing a budget. And I said, well, have you saved any more money? Because he was already sort of on a sort of savings plan for a bit. And he said, no, pretty much the same. So what I'm going to show you now is to set up a budget for yourself, and now you see why I was telling you the things before about keeping it simple and is it working right for you. So pay close attention to the screen. I'm just opening that up now. Okay, so yeah, here it is. You can see our budget area there. Now this is just in Microsoft Excel. Most people have this on their computer or something like it. You can see there is a space for entering your name. We're just going to enter in Tom. Let's see. Tom is our example here. So we're going to be setting up an example about Tom, and we'll be doing a budget for him. And you'll see in there just underneath where we've written Tom, it says expenses breakdown. So this is going to be what our budget is. It's just an expensive breakdown, or EB. It's where you can record what you spend, so it tells you how much you're spending. And I'm going to go through the setup of this, and so that you'll see easily, you'll be able to do this for yourself. So directly under the EB, you can see there are some total columns, and as we progress along, you can see there's already some in there, but these are going to get filled up, and you can see the monthly and even the yearly expenses there in the totals. And this is something pretty normal. It's not groundbreaking stuff. In fact, there are plenty of budgets you can get that have similar things. So I'm not trying to reinvent the budget here or show you something that's brand new. So copy it. Copy what's happening here, just as you see fit. Set it up yourself for whatever you want. But try to pay attention to the idea that I'm showing you, so that like my friend speaking about a moment, he got carried away with setting up his budget, but he missed the fact that it was too difficult and it wasn't actually helping him save more money. So try and keep track of just the ideas. Let's keep it simple, and let's quickly show you how to set this up. And so yeah, let's move on there. But you can see in the EB, I have a few items in there already, as I was saying. And we have phone, rent, and car registration, or rego for short there. So let's enter in a new one together. Let's say gas. So what we'll do is we'll go over to the monthly amount here. You can see there it says copy me into your EB. Now the problem is, of course, that gas bills will usually be paid quarterly, and on top of this, they're different every time.
So what we're just going to do, I mean, obviously, in a quarter we have 3 months. Okay, good. We worked that out. So that's the hard part. Let's grab the monthly one. We'll chuck that in there. Now, hopefully you have an idea of sort of how much it is on usual quarter. Some people already have a monthly one. That's great. But look, let's say it's roughly $300 a quarter. We know that most of the time. So we'll do 300 divided by 3 is 100. Oh, pretty challenging. Okay, here we go. So we've chucked in our monthly amount. Let's change that to gas so we know what that is. And we can see there it's $23.08 a week and $1,200 for the annual figures there. Now, just a tip on the gas, even if you do pay a quarterly one, and this is because it sort of goes for all bills, you can usually get a monthly direct debit set up, and it just makes things a lot simpler for budgeting and also for convenience as well. But that's between you and your provider. But okay, back to it. The weekly and monthly figures there, the math that just works it out, not super complicated, as I said. But it is really important to know, and I encourage you, especially and for the bills there, the monthly or the weekly, have a look at your bill. Is what I'm saying is try and be accurate with your bills. I encourage you to get your actual bill itself. And if it's a regular amount, like your phone bill's always $59, write exactly $59 in. If your car rego's, it's not 700, it's, what is it, 700 and, I can't remember what it is, haven't checked. But go do that, go check. What's going to take you 20 minutes, grab all your bills together and write them down. And the more accurately you do it, the better off it's going to be. So you can see that's adding up there. It's up to exactly 400 at the moment for the weekly figures. Okay, alright, so what do we got here? So I'll just find what's our next step here. Okay, so so these weekly figures, yeah, amount of your test. And okay, so you can actually test. This is my next idea. We were talking about the saving earlier, so you can use this. You can get a bit creative. So let's chuck in savings in there. And if we were trying to save $400 a week, you can see that that's $20,000 a year, and that is our $40,000 after 2 years. And that's our 10% for our $400,000 house. Okay, so you can see that in there, just to add up. Now let's let's change that. Let's put in some spending. Say he spends $100 a week on food and fun. Tom's probably a single guy. He's not spending a huge amount. Electricity. Actually, single guy probably spend more than that, but maybe more than that even. Okay, let's get another monthly one. Electricity, and I don't know how much for electricity. 100 a month, let's say. That's already got gas. Okay. It doesn't matter if these figures are right, this is just for an example. So we've got some totals building up there. We can see how much he's spending a year, how much he's spending a month, and how much he's spending a week. So that's adding up there. So for Tom, we are starting to see how this works. I want to draw your attention down here now that we've got that sort of set up. This is, I guess, it's a little tip. So it's saying if your weekly total is greater than your weekly income, you need to spend less. Now, what do we got here? 573. So there's not a huge amount, but let's say Tom is maybe he's working part time, or he's just starting out. If his weekly income is, I don't know, I want to use $80 to figure out. So let's say this minus 80. Okay, let's say that his weekly income is $493. That's after tax. After tax income. Okay, so that actually means that there's $80 missing. Now, a lot of people, you guys listening out there, you guys are going to have credit cards, or you're going to have some savings already. And I guess I'm sort of getting more into talking about the banking products themselves, what you can actually use, how it can be set up. But what will happen for most people is that they'll spend periods of time where their income does not meet their totals, either here, weekly or monthly, or even for a whole year. So after the whole year, they've actually spent more than their total income. So in this example here, the difference between the income and the expenses, that has a minus effect on the savings. So either Tommy's losing $80 a week from his savings, or he's got $80 a week going onto his credit card. And what happens is that this can go on for a while, and when we've got another bill, or a credit card debt, and that builds up, and then what actually ends up happening is you've got the monthly repayments, and part of that is interest. It's not your money, it's extra money you have to pay. So we go credit card interest. Just going to go past the edge there. Let's say that's built up to $30 now. So you can see almost $7 there, and that's actually adding up. So now he's $86.92 behind, and this can happen. This keeps happening, and you're not actually getting in front. You're not actually getting anywhere. As you've got this, you can see it's $80 shortfall there. Okay. So let's not worry about that. So we'll move that on. Now, I guess I want to explain why it's so important to keep track of this is remember, or keeping in mind, not to limit your spending, so that you're sort of saying, oh, I can't spend this, I can't spend that, but to give yourself a clear picture of what you are spending. So if you give yourself, for example, or we said $100, $150 for spending, and what you notice is that in real life, after a few weeks, you're really spending more than that. Okay, you're really spending $200 a week. Let's say you start to notice you're actually spending $200 a week, and this is, I mean, what if you notice this happening? Just change the budget. Just change it so that's the new amount. So this is meant to reflect what you are spending. It's not a limit of what you can spend. It just reflects exactly what you can spend. And then you get to the point where you really do know how much you're spending. If we see from the example that, let's say, Tom is making $700 a week, just for example, then he's saving, what is it, around $70 there, but it's not quite enough for our example. So let's say he's got a reasonable job, and let's say he's going $930 after tax a week. Okay, so that's a better amount, and see the difference between these two is $300. Okay, so now that we know that, you can take that $300, right, and you can put it in a savings account, even make a little bit of extra interest on there, and that will add up by itself. Having these numbers, weekly income, weekly expenses, and then the difference, the savings, once you have them all set, you know where you're at. So what you can do, you can even chuck your weekly expenses. You can have an expenses account. You can have two accounts, like your usual spending, maybe, I don't know, food. We haven't included anything for food. Food's a weekly amount just on your groceries. Single guy spends almost nothing on. Oops, did that wrong. Okay. So what's this? Food. Spending 50 on the groceries there. And then, so you've got that amount, and you can actually see. So in maybe your everyday spending account, for example, you might have two different accounts with your main bank. You'll have maybe your spending money and your groceries money that could be in there for easy access. But any of your regular bills, phone, rent, car registration, that's once a year, or unless you choose the monthly option, or the gas, so you can just chuck them into another account, right, as a separate account, and then you can set up a direct debit. You know your phone bill's a certain amount, or your gas bill's a certain amount every month. Set up a direct debit so you never have to think about it. It just makes it easier. It takes it off your mind, and it's the whole point of this is making an easy setup. You know how much you're spending. You know your $300, right, that you can save. Well, it's gone under that now. So you can send that other money into a savings account, and then that's it. That's the end. You're done. You've got it set up, and this is a process that's begun. And every week, $300 goes into a savings account. 2 years, you have your $30,000, and that's it. That's your deposit. There's your deposit for your home. So it's a certain thing. Once you have it set up, it's a certain thing. It's that easy. So look, let me quickly recap. This really is the point of it. There's 4 points at the beginning. Sorry. The first point mentioned above is having an idea of where the money goes. This is what the expenses breakdown is all about. This is keeping track. Where does the money go? Point 1, where does the money go? Expenses breakdown. Point 2 was finding it possible to save on a regular schedule. Now we talked about, does it have to be the same amount every week? It doesn't have to be, but if you know you're spending a certain amount, and you know if you save the same amount every week, you'll know how much you've got at the end of the year, then save the same amount every week. It just means it's a guaranteed process. Number 3 was chronically failing to pay bills on time. And then lastly was the struggling to make ends meet. So yeah, that little tip there, if your weekly expenses is above the income, you're not making ends meet. That's the definition of it. If you've got your bill set up as a direct debit, then you're not going to miss a bill payment, and you can be saving money that way if you're paying late fees. So look, I want to thank you for listening today. This what we've shown you here should be fairly easy to set up. You can do this yourself. You can jump on Excel and set these figures up. This is just a total. It's all pretty simple stuff here. However, if you're not confident in using Excel, or you just want to have someone else do it for you, we've sort of taken the time to set this up, and so you can buy the template off us there. It's $3 to get that one. You can just a quick download. And look, if you can do it yourself, that's fine. But look, it does help us cover the effort. We want to share with you. We don't want to make it a paid thing, so we're happy to share with you, and then that sort of helps cover the cost and time put in. But I guess one final thing I wanted to mention is that if you've sort of listened to what we've said today, and you've had a few goes over, you haven't been able to save money, and you sort of feel like you really want to act, like you know inside you that now's the time to act, now's the time to start saving towards a house, and you just need a bit of help, setting up that budget, finding those bills, working out those averages, and finding out what's the right type of home for you, then it's as easy as giving us a call. We'll set up a consultation with you to figure out what's the best way we can help, and then we'll put in place a plan for you there. Yeah. But look, I mean that's just for the people you know when you've got to do something and it's time to act. But for everyone listening today, I want to encourage you to do at least one thing, take one action from what we've seen today. So either that's quickly writing down on a piece of paper roughly your expenses and getting an idea of that, or talking to your bank and setting up another account so you've got weekly spending and weekly expenses and keep them separate. Or do something, take an action here, and it's gonna have improved your savings. And once you get on that schedule, then that's when you know you're done. You're getting into your house. So thanks a lot. We'll wrap it up now. Keep an eye down in the bottom there, the links for the expenses breakdown. And yeah, hopefully we'll talk to you soon.